I would have some water.
I would have some water. Oh,
If you have a bubbly, that'd be tradition.
Please don't. Dan will be burping the whole damn time. The man does not learn.
Okay, so what? Like, is there a line where they can see?
Yeah, so they can't see.
You can look into the.
Yeah, you can see what they see.
Hi, Mary. See, now it's not empty. Oh, good. But it does look like we're a red light district.
That's all you've ever wanted. Greg, could you just hold that there for the rest of the night?
Give me a second. How does this open?
So you have to clamp that. Yeah. You can clamp it on the back of your chair.
It's almost like I thought of this before you said it, you moron.
Punchboard party, the Starkey edition.
What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punchboard Party. My name is Daniel, this is Dallas, this is Mary, and this is Father Greg. You have heard tons about Mary and Dallas, but you've never seen them before, until now. Hi Mary, hi Dallas.
Hello.
Hi, Dan.
So what we're doing, we're actually going to do Mary's top 10 board games of all time. And so she's going to share, and as she shares, we're just going to rip her list to pieces. Because we have no respect for her or her choices in life.
It's true.
So you know how a top 10 list works. So we're just going to rock and roll with it. This is going to be a little more chaotic than usual. But we're just going to have a lot of fun. And I am excited to hear Mary's top 10. Party people, don't forget to comment down below about all the things you like or dislike about Mary's top 10 list.
I sure hope my ego can handle this. Now that I'm thinking about it, I just won't read any of your comments. Comment away. Let's start us off with number 10. So number 10 for me, I will admit right off the bat, it's not that great a board game, but the place it has in my heart is what gets it on the list at number 10. Baseball Highlights 2045.
Hey!
So let me tell you a little story about this game. I was living at my condo. This was before Dallas and I were married. I think we were just starting to date that December. And Father Greg, who I have been friends with for 30 years, shows up with a Christmas present, which never happens. Much less a Christmas present that is about a board game about two of my favorite hobbies, science fiction and baseball. And it was in that moment, after 30 years of friendship, that I thought, just maybe Father Greg actually considers me a friend. It was a beautiful moment. It was so beautiful. And further from that, that was the same December that Dallas and I started dating, which meant that our first date, we had a lovely evening. Came home and played some robot baseball, as I like to call it, and
that's what you call it, eh?
Yeah, lots of jokes ensued.
Yeah.
I believe you possibly hit a home run that night, but I asked you not to.
Wait, are we still talking about board games?
I'm still talking about
I'm so confused. Well, that's such a beautiful story, Mary. I don't think we can really rip your choices to pieces because...
What are you talking about? This is a terrible board game. What do you mean? I love this game. Like, I think it's a quality board game. Good choice.
I do. It really feels like playing baseball as much as a board game can be for me. All right, so board game number 9 for me is Anomia.
Oh!
And I'll tell you, I struggled to get Anomia to the table, I think because Dallas and pretty much all of our friends who play board games do not like Anomia. I've come to realize, and I don't want to get too like gender stereotyped here, I think dudes just don't like Anomia. And most of my board game friends are dudes, and so Anomia just never makes it to the table. Every time it does, I tend to win at Anomia, which I think is why I want it to keep coming back. It's got this psychology trick to it, where it's trying to get your brain to do two things at once, and that can be just overwhelming in some moments where you try to get this word to the tip of your tongue and it's just not coming at all.
I really enjoy Anomia. I think Anomia is a perfect family game. I think it's excellent. I think it's just, when you want people to be laughing around the table, Anomia is just a thing you drop in, especially when there's people who aren't gamers, right? But that's the thing. It's like, Anomia is not a game that you're going to get to the table with gamers. Mm-hmm. If we're getting gamers together, we're going to want to play something else. So I think you're right in that regard. But I still think it's a blast.
That's right. No, it's very simple. Yeah, you can explain this. Although, yes, the actual like playing out of the game involves like a lot of mental like weightlifting. Like it's not a casual game in that sense of like just like, oh, sit back and, you know, just roll some dice and write some numbers on a page. It's like Okay, I'm focused. Okay, what's oh god, what's a country that starts with that rhymes with a flower or something, like, whatever.
You obviously have played Anomia for a while.
Anyways, you have to name these things, right?
That's right. No, for sure.
Well, number 8 for me, Battlestar Galactica, the board game.
Whoa!
I
Again?
knew this one was coming out. I was like, as soon as you said I value like my experiences, I was like, oh, if VSG's not on this list, I'm gonna cry foul.
So I think it was just when I was getting into the whole board gaming hobby, just starting to play things like Beyond, Risk, and Monopoly and those sorts of things. I was also watching Battlestar Galactica, the TV series, and just loving it. Like, it's a very intense show. And I felt like that board game captured the experience of watching Battlestar Galactica, which just really impressed me because I was expecting it to be like, I don't know, just like loosely themed around the show and not mattering at all. But then add to that another layer where kind of this social deduction style of game, it is just a very good version of that game. Like, we have some other games that do similar things to BSG, the board game, and just none of them quite as well as that game for me. And then to layer in the theme on top of that I'm absolutely in love with, like, yeah, that makes it to number 8 for me.
Wow. This is Grail game. Like, this is lots of people's holy Grail game because it's been out of print for like forever. So you guys have this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
I actually have joint custody with my cousin Mark, who co-bought it with me because this was about 15 years ago. He took it for the first 5 years, and then I showed up on his doorstep in Vancouver and took it back about 8 years ago. And let's just hope Mark doesn't remember that or watch this channel. I think he probably wonders where his game is.
Nice swiping. So, question I have about this though. So it's hidden roll, but is it something like halfway through you get your rolls or something? Because like you don't know you're a Cylon, and then partway through the game you find out whether you are a Cylon or not.
Yes.
To kind of get the.
So there's 2 waves of getting a roll. So in the first wave, everybody gets a roll, and one person's a Cylon. But then in the second wave, someone turns out to have been a sleeper agent this whole time. So you might find yourself thinking you were human for the first half of the game and then have it switch.
Because that's
just
really
like
great.
In the TV
yes,
show.
because that is the show. Like that's the moment
Right.
where you're like, oh, you feel for these characters because they think that they're human and they're not.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's fantastic.
All right. So my number 7 game, I had about 6 games that were battling for an entry onto my list, and they all would have gone here. But I wound up going with Wingspan.
Wow. Wingspan better than Battlestar Galactica?
All right, Dan, you got me. Dan was just commenting that I was doing my list from memory. Obviously, I shouldn't have. Wingspan was supposed to be Battlestar Galactica 7, but here we find ourselves at 7 talking about Wingspan. Wingspan is like the artwork, everything about the game is just very beautiful. Again, I think I have a bias with this game because I tend to beat Dallas at it, which just makes me feel happy. Is that something you want in your marriage? Is the general sense of happiness of the other person's loss? I don't know. So Wingspan itself, though, I like. It's kind of got like a engine builder feel to it as you try to build up these rows of birds. Like I said, I really struggled with whether or not it was the game for the list, and I think the thing holding me back was it's quite a popular game. Like, I know a lot of people who Wingspan is the game that they play all the time. It's just the one thing that they bring out, and it almost didn't make the list for that reason. But yeah, I just think it's a pretty just seamless, good experience every time I sit down to play.
Yeah, it's popular for a reason.
You have anti-hype bias. You knock a game down because it's popular.
Absolutely, yeah.
There are some people out there who definitely hate Wingspan just for that reason.
Yes, for sure.
Plus, we always get this craving for mini eggs while we're playing.
Yeah.
There's been some close calls with eating the actual eggs there.
Yes,
very
that's
close
awesome.
calls. So my number 6 game, an older one again, and one that is tied to my memories of Father Greg, is Sagrada.
Whoa.
I love just the simple mechanic of Sagrada. I even downloaded it for my phone, and for a while there I was playing the daily challenge and even managed to get gold a couple of times. Gold worldwide for the 150 people or so who downloaded that app, but still, gold. It was a very good feeling.
A world champion gold.
Exactly.
There's someone out there being like, me too!
Exactly. But yeah, there's just something very just elegantly beautiful about playing this game. I just love the snake draft mechanism of getting your dice. Yeah, I kind of wish that the artwork had been utilized more, but like as you're covering it up with your dice, I wish that you could like actually see a picture, but that's never the case. But still, I could play Sagrada over and over again. In fact, we even played Sagrada a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
Can you remember who won?
You
that?
won that one.
Yeah.
That's the hours and hours of solo play.
Exactly. I was.
Paid off.
I was really
Gold
getting myself
medalist,
ready.
Sagrada.
Yeah.
I have a dream for like a super deluxe version of Sagrada because like the blue, like each of the pips are supposed to represent shades of dice. So like the 1 is like a really light blue and like the 6 is like a really dark blue. I would love to have like a 6-sided dice that has like the 6 being like really dark, so you could actually like see fully
That would be beautiful.
what your like window would look like. But yes, it's a beautiful game. I always love looking at the finished product.
Dan, you don't have anything else to say about Sagrada?
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Poor Sagrada. Oh, that gets you in the feels. So number 5 for me is Pandemic.
Wow.
Another classic, another just old game, and I would call it a classic even after watching your video. I think
I think it's safe to say Pandemic is
It is safe to say that. Yeah.
I feel like the only thing holding me back was now having lived through an actual pandemic. It's a little bit more difficult to relive the themes of this board game.
That's
But honestly, I have so many good memories playing this with family who weren't that into board games because it's cooperative, so you can give them advice / control their entire turn, which really had a lot of appeal for me.
Mary likes to control me.
Dallas was like, so you guys see it too. But what I liked about Pandemic was it feels like a real board game, but I can still play it with my mom. Like she can still get into it. We make her the medic every time, and she just loves tidying up the board. It really doesn't matter what's going on in the game. She's just excited to get those cubes off. You know, she just really throws herself into the role.
Being church lady Jesus, taking off cubes.
Yes, we do call it the Jesus ability to just walk through a city and have the cubes melt away.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I appreciate that. I love Jesus.
No, yeah, Pandemic is a solid game. I really do like the legacy aspect, like Pandemic Legacy. I think lifts this game up to a whole new degree.
No, Pandemic is like, it really was one of those watershed moments for me in the hobby of like, oh, this is what board gaming can be.
It's such a good welcome into the hobby. You know, if you have people who aren't really that interested in board games, or maybe they're afraid that their competitive side will come out and they'll get too angry if they lose because they just haven't had practice at that for a while. This is a great way to just play a game together.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Number 4 for me is Alchemists.
Whoa.
I love deduction games. I love things like Cryptid and all of that category. Alchemist just brings the whole package together. And so you guys know this about me is that I'm an academic in my day job. So the phrase publish or perish was always like top of mind for me in terms of like something you need to do. And Alchemist, this comes out like strongly. You need to publish in that game to survive. And I remember one day going to work and somebody asked me to co-author an article with them on like a topic I knew nothing about and had no interest in, and I found myself saying yes. And then like a week later, after the euphoria of Alchemists had died down, I was like, what am I doing? And I had to phone them back and be like, I actually just don't have time to take that on, because I realized that I was thinking about the next round when I needed to make sure I had enough credits to like buy something from them.
Are you saying that Alchemists made you say yes in real life?
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, the pressure in that game felt so real that it just toppled right over into my real life.
Wow. Wow.
But
You're in too deep there. You gotta back out.
But the replay value for the game, the way that like it's just structured, that every game it's different types of potions and that kind of thing. Sorry, I don't want to get too into the rules because it is like a complicated game, right? And I would say one of the harder things about Alchemists is that someone new can't play like Alchemist. I would not want to sit there explaining the rules to someone who didn't already know worker placement or something to kind of get them through this game. And so it means that I can only play with like a certain group of people who are excited about that type of game and that complexity of game, which means it just doesn't get to the table that often. But I love the artwork. I love the colors on it. I like that game.
My buddy Scott loves Alchemists, and he was able to kind of set it up on the table, and he just kind of had it out for kind of a week at a time. And his daughters at the time were really into it. They were in the sort of like 11 to 13 range.
Wow.
And they were really kind of digging it. So I think you can kind of, depending on...
Well, Dallas and I, since we got married, have said we're not raising children. We're raising future board game players. So I guess 10 years from now, there's something to hope for.
This will happen.
All right, number 3 for me is a very old game that has a special place in my heart. It's Scrabble.
Wow!
This list is too dang sentimental.
I know.
So getting us back to Scrabble. Mm-hmm. Scrabble is a game that I feel has a lot of, well, again, sentimental value for me. Scrabble was a game that apparently my grandparents, who fought on some frequent occasions, I'm told, they would play Scrabble every night after supper. One of them, they'd take turns doing the dishes or playing Scrabble. And so my mom loves Scrabble. And then that's another game that I can play with my mom. But then it's another game that, like, Dallas just doesn't really like it. Like, it never... and I mean,
I wonder why.
I can tell from you folks as well. Not a huge fan.
I like Scrabble, but then you and your mom have played so much that it's like you fit like 2-letter words with 3-letter words, and it's just, it's not fun.
Along with a lot of older games where the more you've played it, the better you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's only more recently that games have kind of hit this nice balance where, depending on the game, but like new players stand a chance because of either just a luck factor or whatever the case may be.
Or the game's just balanced.
Yes. Yeah. But Scrabble is such that if you just ordered the dictionary and read it more, you're going to be better at the game.
Or if you're just a better wordsmith, like if you just have a better vocabulary.
Yes.
Like, this is a game that I would kind of compare to like chess.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yes, if I'm playing somebody who's just vastly better at the game than I am. Like, I remember playing this game as a kid with my grandma and like being like, well, sure, I could beat my grandma at a game. Like, of course. And then like getting demolished. Like, because my grandma would come up with words. I was like, Grandma, that's not a word. Like, it's like, yeah, of course it is.
Of course Hoobastank's a word. What up, Grant?
Yes, because my grandma was listening to Hoobastank.
Mary's third best board game of all time.
Scrabble.
Scrabble. Gosh.
Monopoly better be number 1.
Well, I'm glad we can make one of your list now.
That's right.
So yeah, it was too many hits. This was a good opportunity for you guys to beat me a little bit there. Yeah. All right. So number 2 for me is Century Spice Road.
Wow.
I can just fall into this game and I just get in the zone. It's got like engine building as well, but then you've also got your little cubes that each one is a step up. I could care less about the theme of this game. Like, apparently those cubes represent different spices.
It doesn't matter, Mary, because they've also made it golems and jewels.
Yeah.
So they also know.
They also know the theme of this is irrelevant.
Yes.
But the mechanism is the piece that I love, and I know that there's bigger, more complex games that I could have picked that kind of represent this same mechanism, but the simplicity of that game, I thought about picking something like Splendor for this position as well, because it's just something about a stripped down game that just goes back to its mechanism and lets you fall into it.
When there's something that's just stripped down to its base mechanic, like, and it's just, it allows you almost to be like, almost like hypnotically sort of just like drawn in, like you don't have to think about every sort of like turn in Century Spice, or you're just like, oh, yep, no, I get it. Like, there's nothing new coming up. There's no, like, end of turn cleanup phase where I have to, like, arrange something. It's just like, I get it. This is the rhythm, and I can, like, fall into that rhythm.
Yeah, this is my bread and butter. Games like this is just all I would want to play. Like, if I had my choice, you know, it's so good.
So my number 1 game has a bit of a story behind it. So Dallas and I, as you know, we're completing these lists. Dan, you asked us about a week ago if we'd be interested in bringing our lists to the table. So we're working on our lists, and Dallas puts us onto that website that ranks it for you so that you can pick.
Pub People.
Yeah, Pub People. So we're both doing that, and I'm saying to Dallas, I'm having a really hard time because there's some really good games here, but I hate playing them with you. Like, you beat me at them every time to the point that Batman Love Letter is like game 1,000 for me, because every time I play it with Dallas, it's like I'm just sitting around waiting for him to like capture all of my people and just make me feel ridiculous. So anyway, I'm making my list and I've already picked my number one, and I've said this to Dallas about how a lot of games just got turfed out for me because of memories of him beating me at them. And then he was like, oh really? I never thought of you at all while I was making my list, which wasn't as like flattering as I think he was hoping at that moment.
I don't think he was trying to flatter you there.
I just wasn't worried about win-loss record.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So then he says, oh, but I thought of you for this one game, and that game was Codenames Duet, because you're the only person I've played it with. And my heart grew a little. And then I said to him, so is it in your top 10? And he's like, no. Why would that be in my top 10? And I had already ranked Codenames Duet as my number one game of all time.
Just hoping.
Wow.
Just hoping, but it's not even in Dallas's top 10. But let me tell you a little bit about Codenames Duet.
Please.
So a lot of my list has been sentimental value, and I'll say Dallas and I got this for our wedding, or just around the time of our wedding. So we took it with us on all the traveling we did in the first year that we were married. Played a lot of Codename Duet in Hawaii when we went on a trip to see various baseball stadiums later on in the year. It has just been a game that we've been able to carry with us, and we have this like dream of being married for 25 years and finally getting to like, I don't know, win. Finish off the little nap that comes with it. But we're getting better and better at it. It's a word game that I love and that Dallas is willing to play. Like we mentioned that there's been a lot of word games on my list, but this is one that I think that we really play together well. And the last thing I'll say about it is most games I find, when they are a multiplayer game that goes down to being 2 players, there's something very disappointing. Like you go in expecting to be playing like 7 Wonders, and then you wind up playing a completely different game when you're playing 7 Wonders Duel. But with Codenames Duet, I just thought they did such a wonderful job of capturing the spirit of the original Codenames, but doing it in a cooperative way, which I had no idea what we were getting into. When we picked up the box, I thought we were basically playing a different game with the same branding, right? But it actually turned up being 2-player Codenames. Yeah.
Huh. That's fun. Yeah. Codenames is an excellent game.
I'm a bit surprised it's like number one. That shocked me. I knew you liked this game, but I've played it a handful of times. But
yeah, I think Dallas caught us playing it together once, and it was super awkward, and I decided, okay, maybe that's just a husband and wife game.
All right, party people. So there we have it. That's Mary's top 10 board games of all time. Your list is going to resonate a lot with our party people.
Absolutely.
A lot of our people that love these games. I think half your list was garbage, but I loved some, like two of those games are me.
That's why we only invite you over for board games about once a month.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. So sad. So many people, let us know what you think of Mary's list down below. Be kind. We all love her, and you should too.
Why did you have to specially say be kind? I want to know what you really think, Dan, but we'll wait till the camera's on.
I think you told me that half your list was garbage and you liked 2 games.
I wasn't hiding anything. Alright, party people, if you like this video, please like the video with the little clicky thing, subscribe to the channel, share the video, do all those things. Until next time, party people.
What's the catchphrase?
Have the best day.
Have the best day.